Welcome back to the Unpacking Success podcast. Today, my guest is somebody who I truly believe could be successful and find success in literally any industry because of how he has mastered the art of branding. So I'm super excited to have with me today and introduce to you Justin Mercer, AKA the Tattooed Realtor. So before we get started, Justin, number one, thank you for being here.
Appreciate you coming. I always appreciate you coming out.
Absolutely, man. It's always good to get together. And before we get going, just tell everybody something new going on in your life.
Oh, man. So last time I think we spoke, I was in that other office, so I had a team, separate like investment team. I had a retail team, and I think I was traveling, doing speaking. My world got crazy, and I started losing clients. And I think it was because I was always too busy, and they just thought I was too busy. So like I saw people list houses without me, and I'd be like, yo, because I want to see, I want the real answer. And I'd call them, and a lot of it was, I don't want to bother you, didn't want to bother you with my trade. Like it was just like little things. I'm like, oh, I'm putting myself out there so much that I think it backfired on me too. So now it's just me again. It's just like the team, Keller Williams took it over for me. They were paying me a referral from it. Like I'm one of those, if I don't feel like I'm doing the best service for somebody, like it doesn't sit right with me, and the team, I just wasn't in it. It's hard. Like being a leader is hard. Like I'm starting to learn what I'm not good at in real estate too. And I think not that I wasn't a good team lead, but it's just, I think I wasn't ready for like how much it involves, because I'm still building my career too. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So like for anybody who follows Justin online on social, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, whatever it may be, man, you've been like all over the place speaking, and like the energy and time and just like the thought that goes in behind the creative in your content, because nobody gets to really see like the behind the scenes stuff as much. They just see like what they see on Instagram or YouTube or whatever. And so that's why I like doing this. Number one is because you really get to dive like what's going on behind the scenes. And that's why I asked you like, what's up, what's new, because nobody like gets to see that part of it. And this conversation, I definitely want to be more geared towards branding and marketing, because that is, I mean, you've earned the right to be called one of the best in the game at that in the real estate space. And I even said like in the beginning, like I genuinely believe that you can go into car sales, you could go into being like a lender, or like whatever like industry in the entrepreneurial space, you could go into it and crush it. And like we're going to get into how like Justin's a little bit of an introvert, maybe a lot of an introvert. And it's wild because like if you look at his content, and I'm going to like pull up some videos today, and I want like to show people what was your creative vision behind what in the world you were doing. Like it was the one with like the lingerie with the like leather mask and like all that stuff, dude. And how you've turned your brand into dollars, right? And so like when you first got into real estate, walk us through like how did you feel like you needed to go get deals? How did you feel like you were going to get listings and work with buyers? And like just walk us through that, and then we'll dive deep into the branding. So
it's kind of like a long story behind it, because I think there's a lot of psychology in the sales and real estate, and like delivering the right message to the right people at the right time with the right words.
Absolutely.
So the reason I say that is because like my worst day at work, what sparked all this happened 10 years ago, like 8 years ago. It was just a really, really bad day at work. I was going through divorce. I was driving. It was 120 something degrees that day.
Explain what you were doing for work.
Oh yeah. So I drove a semi, but I did delivery. So we would just break down pallets worth of product outside, wheel it in. Like it's the back-breaking labor. So it was like after a day of that, it was 120 degrees outside. It was I think a 14-hour work day. I started work that day at 3 a.m. and it's now like 4:45. I'm still on the freeway headed back to the plant just to turn my truck in. So it's going to be that's 15-hour days were usual back there. So I had seen a billboard on the side of the road, and keep in mind I didn't have AC in the truck. Like it was just a shitty day, and like it was just hot, and I see a billboard and it said the Tattooed Lawyer. And when I saw it, the first thought that kicked in my head was that's exactly who I would use. So that stuck with me for 6 years later, going through one of the worst things in my life, which made me not want to be here anymore. I think we talked about that before.
For a little bit, but dive into it.
Yeah, I didn't dive deep into it, but like it was the monotonous work from my old 13 years. Like it caused 2 divorces, like from nothing. Like the divorces shouldn't have happened. I'm glad it did. I mean, obviously you learn from stuff, but the point is like I wasn't happy for 13 years, so that driving factor of that tattooed lawyer stuck in with me. So when that second part happened, when I didn't want to be here anymore, it got to be where, you know what, I've always had this idea to do real estate. He did it with law. This is 6 years after I saw the billboard, and I said, you know what, I was sitting in the corner of my room crying. It's a bad story, but basically I was just like, dude, it can't get worse, so let me just go do it, and worst case scenario, I'm back here. Like, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. But at least I could say I tried it. Yeah. Right. So that's where everything popped in, and that's why I say I used a lot of psychology in it, because the whole reason I'm in real estate is from seeing somebody else have success with their look.
Which actually ties in. It's making me think now. It actually ties into brand. And when you were in that dark place in your life, your back was against the wall. I actually just shout out to Connor Murnane, because I just saw you guys talking about that on a clip. But your back was against the wall. You were like, I don't know where else to go. It really can't get much worse. And you saw a brand in somebody that resonated with you to say, maybe I could turn my life around if I went down this path. Which I actually think that, and we're going to dive into this, because like when you look at somebody's brand, is the brand, is it just a superficial thing, or is it a real thing deep inside that you're able to communicate outwards that could really have a long-lasting effect on somebody's life? And we're going to get into that. But when you first started in real estate, I mean, I think that your story on how you got started is amazing, how you gave it a shot. Like, it's super powerful. But when you first got started, you get your license and you're out there and you're a realtor now and you're trying to get deals. What was your thought process of, I need to go get business? What did you do first?
I asked people. So I asked all the people, like when it came to the brand, I put my logos on Instagram and Facebook and said, what do you guys think of it? I changed my brand 3 times before I even started, because I did research. I just looked up stats in real estate and saw that I think there was an 80% fail rate. Now they say it's 85, but there's an 80% fail rate in the industry. So that right then got me super like, oh man, I wonder if I can even do this. So I already went into it thinking like it's not going to work. Right. So it was kind of like no pressure, if anything. But I would say March 2020 is where I didn't have any business yet. There was nothing in the pipeline. There was nothing in escrow, and COVID hit March 2020. So I had just put my 2 weeks in, quit Pepsi, 13 years gone, and now I'm a real estate agent full time. And I did the 6 steps. That's what helped get me business. But those 6 steps came from literally just sitting down and thinking about the industry as a whole, and like, what do you need to do to get business? What have you done to succeed in other jobs? And really, I interviewed myself. It sounds so cheesy, but it works. If you guys ever, like, I sat in front of a mirror, because if real estate doesn't work out, I'm gonna go get a job. Right. So what are they gonna ask me? Like, what do you do for other people? So I asked the same questions to myself, like, what have you done for other people? And then when I asked everyone, why did they follow me in the first place? Like, because everyone was saying real estate wouldn't work. And
because of your tattoos, because of your look. Okay.
Yeah, not me. They know I had the work ethic. It was more like you can't change people's minds.
The appearance.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I was like, well, why did you guys follow me in the first place? And a lot of it was the memes I used to do, the funny posts I used to do, because I always had a great sense of humor. Right. But all I did was pour that into real estate, because I asked every agent I knew at that time, I was like, who's the most famous real estate agent you know? And they all said the same too. It was like Shannon Gillette and Russell Shaw. Okay. And there's never really been, to me, that name in real estate, like the Call Raffis, Lerner and Rowe. So my whole marketing plan from the very, very beginning was to be like a no name in the valley, like Shanko. When I got engaged, I went to Shanko, because I've been hearing the commercials since I was 5 years old. I could recite the whole line. So when I started thinking about my business, I was like, I just need to get the attention, because these Shanko, these Call Raff, they don't get everybody. They just put money behind advertising and become a name.
Explain that thing that you explained last time. It's like the third, where you work with a section of people. You may work with some, and then there are some people who will never work with you no matter what. And it was perfect, because I think that day I was wearing like a suit or something, and you use that as an example. There are some people who would never use you because of your tattoos, and then there are some people who would absolutely never use me because I'm wearing a suit. And it's really powerful, because I think there's a lot of people out there who are like, I could never wear a suit. That's just not me. And then there's even worse people out there who are like, I'm going to wear a suit and act like I'm better than everybody else. And it's just, and not everyone that wears a suit is like that. But explain that, break that down the way you did before.
Well, a lot of it, because I would get messages on Instagram, like comments on ads I was running, and people always like, who would use him? Who would use him? And the whole thing in my head was like, why is that a statement from a grown adult, right?
I know, that's crazy.
The thought process is like, so you mean to tell me if you were going through surgery and you found out the surgeon that was performing work on you had tattoos, you think all of a sudden now is like, oh man, all this medical school is down the drain because I tattooed my face. Like the people's thought processes are so like ass backwards.
Yeah.
So like I knew people want to work with me, but when I got in the industry is when I found out the marketing statistic that scared me was I didn't think anyone would use me, but come to find out through doing these marketing events and stuff, 33% of people will always, it's a breakdown in marketing. So your marketing will always hit 33% of people. Like you always have 33% of people that use you, know you, trust you, love you. There's a 33% of people that will never use you, right? And then there's a 33% of people that are just, they're not out. They're just like in their own world doing their own thing.
Right.
But I think where a lot of people miss the mark is they change who they are and what they do to try to appeal to 66%.
Right.
Instead of just attacking their 33%.
Yeah.
So
okay, so walk into that. Really break that down. How does somebody, whether they have tattoos, whether they don't have tattoos, whether they're a man, woman, whatever the case may be, how do they find and locate and really define their 33%? And then how do they really go after those and kind of ignore the rest that would never work with them?
That's why I think social media is the most important marketing tool, is because your 33% of people are already there. They're the people that see your stories, that see your posts. Like those are your people, period. Yeah. So when I asked them, like, why do you guys follow me? Why do you guys, because I got good engagement, like even before any of this stuff, but it was because the sense of humor background. Yeah. So when I started doing videos, I don't know if you saw, like when I very first started doing videos, they were both like, they were kind of funny, not shot well, like shaky camera, but people were getting good responses on it. So when I did that 6-step thing, the very first video I put purpose behind was that hot tub video.
That's right.
Yeah, so
you mentioned that one frequently, it seems like. What was it? What was about that one? It was a turning point, that hot tub one. So explain what the video was and why it was such a turning point for you.
Because
ladies, do you love rich men with beautiful houses? Go ahead and swipe right.
No, Justin, it's not the Tinder. This is for the open house.
Hey, come join me from 11 to 3 p.m. this Saturday at this beautiful estate in Seville for an open house, 6876 South Star Drive. I hope to see you then.
it was validation for me, because like I've never followed through with my head before. I never had to. I had a W-2 job, like show up, work hard, go home. Yeah. Right. So any thought I've ever had in my head has always been in my head.
And so you executed on this one, and beautiful things happen. Okay.
It was my idea to do real estate. Then I was like, holy shit, I got a news store did something on me. I got 5,000 followers out of nowhere on Facebook. Yeah. And then I was like, I didn't think this would work, and it's working. So when I put purpose in the first video, all I said was, you know what? I don't think real estate's boring. Yeah. And lending's boring, and title's boring, but everyone tries to make it so interesting. And there's classes that teach you how to make it interesting. And at the end of the day, less than 1% of the people that are following you are buying or selling right now. Yeah. So why are we changing everything we're doing to try to like hit those people instead of just being top of mind? Right. So when I asked people why they're following me and all that, it was the funny. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do funny videos. I'm not going to turn people off with the boring shit, because step number 2, I know this is hard because we didn't go to the steps, but step number 2 in that system was think like a consumer. And the reason I say think like a consumer is that's what I think I do better than any agent. Right. Is I really take myself out and put myself in the shoes of a consumer. Right. So I was a consumer in real estate. I bought 2 houses and sold 2 houses before I was even in real estate. So all I thought of, where did I get my agent? Yeah. You don't need any more questions. Like answer your own questions first. So I bought 2 houses and I sold 2 houses. Where did I find my agent? Do you know where she was?
The gym.
Hottest girl at the gym. Right? So,
I remember.
Yeah, it's like I just wanted to start a conversation because I was single at that time, and I was like, buying whatever, like however you do it. But I saw that girl, and I was like, you know what? I'll just talk to her. Yeah. It made it easy to open up a conversation with her. Right. So that's how I got my first agent. And then I think about it. You go to a steakhouse, obviously, and it's a $140 steak, but you don't go in the back and ask the chef for his credentials. You just, right? So why can't I still be that to people, right? And that's what that approach I was going for, was just to get my foot in the door. It was never to give people value propositions, because no matter what I do, they're still going to look at me and they're going to have their own assumptions. Yeah. So until I get in front of people, you're never going to deliver the right message. And that's what know it's a whole long story, but it was more of a
No.
thought process. It was like, I did choose my agent because of obscure reasons. How many people do that?
Right.
A ton of people, right?
Right.
How many
Oh,
people
for
is just
sure.
the first person you talk to because you had that idea and it's
Right.
the first person that called you, right?
Right.
So I never thought I had to be like the cookie cutter agent, because I was like, you know what? I'm just going to be loud as I can
Yeah.
and just wait for people to pick me apart instead of just trying to like grab people, right?
Right.
And when I say that 33% rule, too many people change who they are.
Right.
They do, because
Oh, it's so true.
every one of my shares was my people. Every
Yeah.
one of the people that sent me referrals was my
Yeah.
people. So I went from March 2020 having zero business to the next month I closed 1.7 million. And keep in mind, I had nothing in the pipeline, no
Yeah.
CRM, but it was
Right.
all from just being loud online.
Yeah.
And my people, that first video was 400 shares all together.
Okay, so yeah, explain that video. Explain what the hot tub video was all about.
So my whole thought process was like when I did that whole how to choose my agent,
Yeah.
I didn't tell you the back end part. So the
yeah.
back end part is I knew 8 people on my social media who were agents. So the first thing I thought to my head is, why didn't I use them?
Yeah.
Like, 2 of them were people I played football with, their wives. 2 I went to school with, and like 2 were just like mutual friends or
Yeah.
like close friends.
Right.
But I went to all their pages
Yeah.
when I bought a house. So I'm not looking at it now. I was like, you know what? I'm going to look at these people's pages when I bought a house, right? Why wasn't I clicking with them?
Right.
And it was always the same thing. It was the just listed, just sold, the boring
Right.
market statistics, here I am as a consumer at that time, not engaging with real estate posts.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're boring the shit out of me, right?
Right.
You get used to scrolling.
Yeah.
Something has to catch your eye in order to get you to stop.
Right.
So I knew nothing real estate was going to do that. In that first video, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go for a laugh. So that's why I did the whole suited up, hot tub, drinking wine, that Tinder.
Yeah.
And it was made just to say this is a real estate video, but it's going
Right.
to have nothing to do with real estate.
Gosh,
And that
yeah.
was the very click. And that's
Right.
what I told you is like that validation. I was like,
Yep.
holy crap, I'm right.
That was your first ever real estate related video.
Well, the other 2 were like iPhone, like
Right.
cheesy
right.
ones. But
like
yeah.
the one that you actually put a production
thought
into.
into.
You had,
A plan.
And that's another thing too, is that, and we'll get into this later because I want to hit some of these questions, but be thinking about this, because somebody may be thinking of this right now. Do I have to have, whether I'm a real estate agent or just an entrepreneur just getting started, or maybe I have some years in the game, do you have to have a video person? Do you have to have all the cameras, all the lights, all the microphones? Do you have to have all of that? Maybe you're thinking that right now, and we're going to cover that later. Remind me to cover that if we don't, but I want to hit some of these before we do, because again, you like one of the best branders, marketers in the real estate space that I know. And so I want to ask you this question. What does branding mean to you, and why is it essential for an entrepreneur or a business?
I'm glad you asked that. Because I think of branding and marketing completely different.
I
And
know
that's
you do.
okay. Like, I think everyone should think of it their way.
It's obvious. Look at this real estate office.
Yeah, but every little thing you think, there's a purpose behind it. There's
Yeah.
a thought process. So when I say that, what to me, branding there's no definition. It's a verb. Like, it's an action word.
Yeah.
So I think branding isn't like a definition. Like, here's how you brand. Like, I think it's just an
Right.
action.
Yep.
Like, you're either going to be all about branding or you're not.
Yeah.
So when people ask me how to brand, it's like, man, for one, it's hard enough to create your own brand.
Yeah.
It's next to impossible to create someone else's brand. Because
Right.
it really is, you have to be authentic to
It
it.
is you. Yeah.
So when I say branding, like, I picture a tube of toothpaste, right? And what do you do when you start running out of toothpaste?
You start rolling it
You
up.
start rolling it. Like, you try to get every ounce of toothpaste out of that tube.
Yeah.
That's what anything I do in real estate day to day,
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what can I squeeze out of anything I'm doing.
Yeah.
So if you take this office as an example, right? We have walk-in traffic or walk-by traffic. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted. And so I was like, you know what? At nighttime, I still want to be seen 24/7, right? So these lights above, they light up pink. So
Nice,
if you drive by Gilbert Road at night, this whole corner is just blasted pink, right?
Yeah.
Because I want people to drive by like, what is that pink light, right?
Yeah.
Going by and seeing my lit up sign, the logo on the window, they look
Yep.
in the window. It just forces people in, right?
Yeah,
and
it does.
that's all it really is. I already have the office, right?
Yeah.
How do I make this office a billboard? That light. The coffee stop next door, the line gets big sometimes and it comes
Yeah.
down to the window. So that's what all this stuff is going to be. I'm going to hide a Waldo in there,
Yeah.
but it's all meant to force people to look at my office.
Right.
Like, you want eyes on your brand. You want
Yeah.
eyes. The more time they spend here looking in, they're just getting hit. I mean, you see my brands every
Yeah.
corner of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the more they see it, the more they'll never forget it.
Yeah. But all that is, I'm already renting the office. Why
Yeah.
not do those extra 2-3 steps to
Right.
try to get people engaged to your
Right.
office? So I just did that with everything I did.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think something that people may miss, they may get it about you in particular is, and this does go for branding overall, is branding is more than what you do on the camera, right? The number one, the thought process that goes into your videos on social, the thought process that goes into, I can make this a really professional looking office, but why? Because that's what every office looks like. Why not put my flair on it to where people will never forget it? Once they see it, once they lay their eyes on it, they'll never forget it. And that is powerful when you can create something that somebody would never forget, especially in a positive way, not a negative way, but like in a really positive way. That's really hard to do, especially in today's world. Now, you mentioned, no, go ahead.
No, I'm saying it works too,
Yeah.
because there's so many people that, oh my God, I saw your billboard over off Higley. I'm like, well, that one hasn't been up in a while. So when
Yeah.
when people say that, I
Yeah.
just think back to, damn, people still think I have a billboard right there. And I don't. But it's that brand. Once they see it, it kind of embeds into them.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like somebody told me this once about like ChatGPT. They were like, people use ChatGPT. They don't like squeeze that toothpaste out of ChatGPT. Usually they'll put a prompt in, they'll get the first thing that it gives them, and then they'll leave with that, rather than saying, give me 3 content ideas for my real estate business on social media, just as an example. And it spits out 3 different content ideas. And instead of taking it and saying, give me something better, be more creative with this, because that is exactly what you have done. Is you have an office and you decorate it, and then you're like, well, how do I decorate it more? How do I get somebody to actually look in and actually need to like find something like the Where's Waldo thing, which is what he's going to do. He's going to do like a little magnifying glass or like
a binoculars on the window.
Yeah, like binoculars. We have to look through and then find something, which is wild. If you see this wall, it's going to be amazing. And that's what you've done. You're squeezing that toothpaste out of the bottle, which is wild. It's really, really good. And that's what you've done with your social. That's what you've done with the billboards. You don't just throw a billboard up. Explain the billboard thing.
So the very first billboard I put up, the lawyer, the guy that I saw on the sign, we ended up doing a podcast together, and he's the one, he spent like $2 million a year in marketing for just billboards. And he said, you need to get a billboard. And he's like, I can walk down downtown Gilbert. Not everyone knows who I am. He's like, you have that defining look where people know who you are. Yeah. So he's like, you could put 1 billboard up. And I was like, oh, screw it, I'll do it. So I did it. And sure enough, like I had friends hit me up for money. Like I was like, what the like everyone thinks like it's a credibility thing, right? I told people I could sell 1 house a year.
Validates your brand.
If I had 3 billboards, like people would think I'm the best agent in the world, right?
Right.
But that's when I was like, dude, I stopped trying to impress agents. I stopped trying to please agents. I'm just trying to get attention, because attention, people will always talk about you no matter what. They're gonna come up with their own decisions about who you are, no matter if I'm the best person in the world or worse. Like they're still gonna have their own 2-second clip of zero conversation. You don't know me, but you're gonna assume, right? So instead of worrying about all that stuff, I just started being loud, because the first billboard I put up, I had an agent attack me on there, like, oh,
that's right.
I can't believe this is the thing. And then everyone at her brokerage is like, that's disgusting and blah, blah, blah. And I had a title guy put my numbers in there. He's like, well, it looks like for being such a disgrace, looks like he's beating all your guys' numbers, right?
Oh, man.
And I ended up sharing her post. And I said, you can have your own opinion. It doesn't upset me at all. But I want to prove a point to you. Like, think how you want, but I promise you, just don't erase this post. And I told her, as soon as I shared it, went from 20 comments, or it went from like 6 comments to like 120.
And that's what you proved. And then it was just all love.
What do you think she did? Erased
take it down.
So as much as you got to say all this said about me, you're fake. You don't even stand by your own feelings.
Right.
Like, because you felt that, you posted it, and I just was proving a point to her. Like, you can call me whatever you want, but at least I'm not fake.
Yeah.
Because as soon as she started getting backlash for it, what'd she do? She's no longer that confident behind her feelings anymore.
Yeah.
So like, who are you attacking here, me or yourself?
Right.
So,
well, and I think that says more about the way she feels about herself than it does how she feels about you. Now, you brought up authenticity. I have a question for you. How do you balance authenticity with what the market wants?
Can I answer that in a minute? Let me think about
that's
it.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah, but I'm going to add on to that last one, because part of the reason that her making fun of my billboard changed everything about my business too. Because I'm like, dude, I got a smile on my face. Like, there's a nice message on the billboard. I got a smile. It's like a headshot, and people are still dogging me, right? Yeah. If I see a billboard, I think it screams success to me. I'm like, damn, I wish I had a company like that guy, right? Then I'm like, you're still attacking me? It's a billboard, right? So I was like, why am I even trying to go this route? The next billboard I put up was the NSYNC one. Where I was like, you know what? If people are going to give me shit anyway, I'm just going to go for the attention and watch how much louder it gets. So I did that NSYNC billboard, and that time I put my Instagram on it too. That thing was shared over 300 times on Instagram. So I told my billboard, I was like, you guys charge me for traffic drive-by. I said, but I'm getting more shares online than I am even on the drive-by. So them making fun of me doing that thing, like it didn't hurt my feelings, but it did change my business, because it's like, I'm trying to impress people. Like, look at the credibility. Hey, credibility. Like, that's what I was trying to do with my marketing. I'm like, why, dude? They're still going to judge me. They're still going to have whatever they have to say.
Yeah, lean into that.
So now I just do, all right, just look at me, period.
Well, so like Gary Vaynerchuk brings up this point all the time, and he says that attention is today's greatest currency. Because if you can get attention and exposure on you and your brand, there is no better like that is the currency of today's world. Because, and if you think about it, it's hard to like really go in depth on that, but if you think about it, it's so true. Like, if everybody knows my name in a way that's not like I murdered my parents, like if it's for a particular reason around business and your brand, if everybody knows your name, there's nothing more valuable than that.
There's like 70% of people trust brands. So it's like, necessarily, they don't have to agree with the brand, but if they see it enough, it kind of screams credibility. Like, obviously this guy's being so loud, he's probably running a credible business, because he doesn't want to he's doing all this.
Well, now when you say 70% of people trust brands, are you saying 70% of people trust personal brands? Or like the brand Nike, or the
branding,
just brand in general.
Yeah.
Got it.
But that's kind of what I am.
Right.
Like, because there's no Nike in real estate.
No. Yeah, well, and I think I agree with you. I think that the personal brand is way more important than the brand of, unless you get to like the Nike, because like the Nike is a completely different thing, because it's just a huge brand, and it makes you feel a certain way when you wear something Nike and all of that. But personal brand is more personal, which is what we're talking about. But yeah, going back to this authenticity question, how do you balance authenticity with what the market wants?
I don't. I'm just me 100% of the time.
You don't care what the market wants.
Well, explain what you mean by that. Or
so
like, for marketing, or what, the real estate market? Like,
I think like when it looks, and I think that it's kind of a trick question, only because what the market wants, who defines that? Who defines number one, who the market is? Who is the market? Because like what you said, a third, right? What the market wants could be something completely different to each individual entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right. So like, I think going back to what we had talked about before, you have to figure out who is your market. And if your market is people who trust you because you are authentic, you are who you are, I don't think that your brand does change and your authenticity does change. But yeah, I think that it was...
Well, I guess I got more authentic as I got busier.
Right.
Because I thought I had to still please everybody.
Right.
Right. So I was trying to make everyone my friend. I was trying to make everyone believe. I was trying to make everyone like the house. Like, I was trying to do everything and show people I was doing anything.
Yeah.
And it really drove me crazy. My whole listings changed when I went to a listing appointment that I thought for sure I wasn't going to get. And I walked, and this is a great example for people too, is like, just as much as I hate being judged, what did I do? I judged somebody. They called me off of a billboard, say, hey, we're moving to Ohio or Utah. They were moving to, and it was in Eastmark. So Eastmark's a known community. Right. There's a lot of agents that farm Eastmark, but I went to the listing appointment. They interviewed 7 people, and I was the last one. So I was just automatically, I was like, dude, I'm not going to get this. Right. Show up to listing, opens the doors like a lily white family. Like the mom and dad were there, like Dockers, New Balance. And I was like, dude, I'm not getting this listing. Like, why am I even here? Like, it was a Sunday. I had my ripped jeans. I had a hat. Like, and I just went through the house, and I was more matter of fact. Like, I wasn't trying to kiss their ass and build the rapport, because you're always taught to build rapport. And I just like, it's kind of fake sometimes. Like, I'm forcing myself to like, oh wow, I love the wallp. Like, it's just like, it wasn't authentic me, but I already thought I was done. I was just like, I'm not going to waste my time, right? So I was just being more matter of fact, like, what is this? Sat down, and I pulled out my computer, and I just showed them the comps. I was like, look, I usually pull out comps and show you. I said, I'm going to show you exactly how an appraiser is going to do it. because I was just trying to hurry up. Like I just
Yeah.
thought I was going to get it, right?
Interesting, yeah.
And they asked me to drop my commission, and that's my only time to be like, the hell no, I'm not going to drop my compensation, right? So, because I didn't think I was going to get it. But
Right,
they had somebody at 3.5. And I was like, you know what, I'll drop to 5. I said, but how did you guys find me? And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, what did you call me for?
Yeah.
And they're like, we saw you on the billboard. I was like, oh, so my marketing. And they're like, yeah. I said, well, how do you think I'm going to sell your house? And that one question was just like, it was kind of silent after I asked them.
Yeah.
And you're kind of taught when it's silent, maybe
Sound speaks.
you got something there, right?
Yeah.
So they were silent, and then I was like, okay. And they started asking me more questions.
Right.
And I was told them, and I learned this from Greg Haig. I was like, well, you probably interviewed listing agents. I'm a selling agent. I don't list your home. I sell your home. And I said, when I sell your home, that means I'm selling the equity. I'm selling the area. I'm selling me. I'm selling this.
Yeah.
I'm at your house in the open house selling your house
Yeah.
because. You guys know 90% of the industry is garbage.
Yeah.
So they're bringing their buyers in. What are they saying to their buyers? Are they pointing this stuff out? Because there's so many part-time agents, that people that don't know what a quality is. They don't know what comps are. They don't know how we're priced versus the area. So if you're actually going to list a house, you can actually sell it to the agents and sell it to the buyers. And when I say that, there's been, I think, 3 or 4 deals last year in particular where the only reason I sold that house so quick was because I talked to the agent.
Right.
And I found out the situation. And I was like, well, why don't you try to do this with them?
Yeah.
And the agent's like, well, I've never done that. So now I'm sitting here, and it all came from like just gradually being in the industry. And when I say the authenticity came, it's because that's never how I did my listing presentation.
Right.
I was always kissing the ass and please pick me, please pick me.
Right.
Like, and that is when I just say, you know what? People like a professional. Like I came in there, was a super direct, super matter of fact. And I got a call on the way home, and they said they wanted me to list their house.
Wow.
And I was just dumbfounded. I was like, dude, there's no way I thought I was going to get this to change my whole outlook on real estate.
Right.
Then I stopped being the people pleaser, and I'm just delivering the hard truths because people aren't hearing the truths. And then when you do the investment space, you go to these cash buys, you're asking the real questions, and people like, wait, you just got a notice of trustee foreclosure? Like you still got like 90 days. There's so much time, right? But the average consumer doesn't know this stuff.
Right.
So when I started doing my listing presentations now, I'm not an agent, I'm an investor. And I'm not trying to do anything, but I sit down with them and say, what's the deal? What's going on? Right.
Yeah.
And no one does that now. I don't have a pitch. I don't have here's what I do, step 1 to step 5. I just sit down at the table and I just say, what's going on?
Yeah.
Because let them do 80% of the talking. You're just directing the conversation.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's really important to note too, like this is very real estate focused. This is really heavy on real estate talk, but you could be an entrepreneur who is a dentist, a doctor. You could run an esthetician business. It doesn't matter what space you're in, like this all applies. And I think that a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in like, I have to be this certain way, when exactly what Justin is saying is exactly what you should be doing, is lean into your authenticity, because at the end of the day, that is going to win in the long run. You could act like somebody or not and maybe get a few wins, but in the meantime, you're going to be losing credibility, as you would agree. Now, I'm really excited to ask you this. Do people create brands to serve others or to find purpose themselves?
Damn, that's a good question.
And the reason I asked that is because I think that a huge part of your brand is you figured out a lot about yourself building your brand. So do you think that people build brands to serve others or to find out more about themselves?
I think they do it selfishly at first. It's all about them, and then they realize what business is. Russell Shaw, the guy that kind of got my boost in real estate, that got the news story for me.
Yeah.
He told me that the very first time I went to lunch. He said, hey, love what you're doing with your brand, all that. And this was the very first conversation him and I ever had.
Right.
He's like, what I want to teach you today is let your brand be, like, it's great to have a brand. He's like, but brands are selfish. And I was like, oh. He's like, it's a lot of people are just about them. It's you're the tattooed realtor. Me this. Right. He's like, you have to make it about them. And I was like, oh, it makes so much more sense. Like, it's not about me.
Right.
Like, what I do is just to get eyes on me. It's not to make it about me.
Right.
And that's what I think I learned from him, is everything after that was about consumer focused.
Okay.
My brand was just to get my foot in the door.
Yeah.
And that's why I told you I don't use value propositions or call to actions, because it
seems fake.
I just want to get my foot in the door.
It seems templated.
Yeah.
It seems templated when you have like, and some people may disagree with this, again, whether you're in the real estate space or not, when you have like templates or packages or whatever, it just seems like, well, you're treating me like everyone else. And when you're dealing with entrepreneurs and when you're dealing with people, they're not just like everyone else. Like, they are their own person. They have their own thoughts. They believe their particular way, and that's going to be different than everyone else. And so I think that what you're saying is like, do 80% listening during these meetings that you're meeting with a possible customer or prospect or whatever it may be. And you should be listening the majority of the time. Ask a question, listen. Ask a question, listen. Which I think is really interesting.
I saw an interview once, and it was with a CIA agent, and they were asking the CIA guy. He's in the field operative, so he goes into other countries and undercover. Like, so I think CIA is awesome. It's cool to have like secret like stuff like that. Just it's cool to me. But
yeah,
the interview with him, they were basically like, "Why are you guys so good at what you do?"
Right.
And he said something along, I don't know the exact quote, but he says something along the lines of, "We were trained to look at life through perspective and not perception." He's like, if you can change your life to look at it through perspective, not perception, he's like, your whole life will change. And I remember that stuck out to me because I'm like, I've had court battles, I've had divorce. Like a lot of it was miscommunication, misunderstandings. And that spoke to me so much because I started living my life through, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, she said that or he said that, but why did they say it, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's because of this. Well, they could be thinking this because there's always, but it's you're taking the next step, right?
Right.
And now when I go to listing appointments, buyer appointments, like I'm not going with a script. It's just perception versus perspective. Instead of me trying to tune them to what I need them to hear, I'm just listening to what they're saying. Yeah. And I'm trying to make myself, if it's not a good time to buy, right? I'm wrong, right? Right. So I'm going to keep talking to them until I'm right. Right. And that's the difference is through the conversation, what is it that they're really saying, right? Right. So when someone, I don't know. That's really interesting. Like, just a quick example is like, if someone is interviewing me for commission and they're like, can you drop your commission? They don't care what I make. They care what they're pocketing. Right. So it's just that little switch of understanding. So now if I approach it as... that's a good point. If I approach it back and answer their question as a me commission focus... That's a really good point. Yeah. So when you turn it around and say, well, what is this other guy offering you? He's 4%, I'm 5%. That's a really good point. It's a $400,000 house, right? So that's $4K. You mean to tell me this guy's $4,000 better than me? Yeah. Absolutely not, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm talking about. Change their mind. You're trying to overcome their objection. They're set in their way because they don't know me. So when I sit and have these conversations, I'm going to sit here until I change your mind. Yeah, because that is a good point. Because when agents and then, like I said, people in general, when they start thinking about commissions and somebody asks them to reduce their commission or their fee or their cost or whatever the case may be, they're thinking about it from a point of, well, number one, how much is this going to cost me? And then how much is it going to make me? And it's not them thinking, I don't care about how much you get paid, or I don't want you to get paid that. That's a really good point. I like that. You can see the aha moment too sometimes in sellers and buyers because you can see when it clicks and it's the most like rewarding feeling. And the next question I follow that up with, because they'll still push back sometimes too. And I was like, you know what I think agents drop a commission does? And they're like, what? I said, I think it's smoke and mirrors to hide value. I said, because when is commission due? And they're like, well, I'm like, would I even get paid a commission, right? Right. And they're like, they don't really know the transaction. I was like, well, it has to close, right? Yeah. And they're like, yeah. I'm like, so they're not saving you anything. Yeah. They're just telling you they can, right? Well, I'm telling you I can make you more. So it's the same thing, but you have to kind of like... Yeah, it's perspective change. It's looking at it from their point of view for sure. Okay, so what about this one? What's one belief that you had about branding years ago that you no longer agree with? Ooh. Oh, man. I told you. Damn, I wish I could study some of these. Yeah, well, because branding to me, it did change. Like, so being more dialed in with your future brand. Like, you don't look at branding just as a now. Like, what do you want for your future? Because does your brand even line up, right? Because my first brand was the tattooed realtor. So, Call Tattoo, everyone's like, thinks I'm a tattoo shop. The tattooed realtor, I didn't have that problem, right? Oh, it did because it said the tattooed, but the tattooed realtor, I had to change that. Call Tattoo. And then what? You remember the Durango? Well, like it had the wrap and it had that ghost like traditional tattoo background. I saw that one. No, but it was the pinks and blues and bright and vibrant, and they had the tattoos all over it. But when I looked at it, I was like, Justin, do you see this sign in DC Ranch? Like, do you see it in Silverleaf? And I was like, I don't want to be known as the fun, goofy guy, like the guy.
Yeah.
I don't want to be known as that. I want to be known as because I do want to be a name. I do want to be Call Raffi.
Right.
So is this brand going to help me get Call Raffi when everyone thinks it's fun in a tattoo shop? And oh, your signs are so fun and like vibrant. And I was like, you know what? I don't know if this is a long-lasting brand color. So that's when I started doing just that logo with a clean, sleek logo.
Yeah.
It's black and just have that one color pink as an accent color. Because I think that's more, it gives it more of a luxury feel.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That luxury feel.
So now I have a brand that could be used for investment space, for any kind of price point in real estate, as the other one I think kind of limited me to.
Now, but you think it's okay for somebody to start in one place and then to pivot, adapt, change their brand a little bit. I mean, still a lot in the same lines of what you've always done, but you're just making it a little bit more luxurious. You're making it a little bit more, I don't want to say professional, because like I think a lot of people do know you as the fun guy, but also the business guy. Like there's no question that anybody who knows you knows that you're a successful real estate professional who has killed it. But now that you're pivoting a little bit, I don't think anybody's going to have a problem following along in that journey.
No, and I think
saying that's really cool that he's making a change.
Branding's a big waste of time and money in the beginning too, because agents are, you're just getting out of school and you're putting so much time into branding.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see my colors. I'm like, you might fall into it, right? So I have an agent that I was talking to now, and she just started getting back into real estate.
Yeah. And
the first thing she's doing is, I'm going to meet with this, I'm doing my logo, I'm like, just get the business first.
That's such a good point. Yeah.
I was like, what are you going to do for your brand? She's like, I don't know, I had a couple of ideas. And I was like, so stop thinking about it completely. Just work. Like, fall into that brand. You will fall into it. Like, the brand is, it's like I said, it's an action. I said, it's you being on social media every day first.
Yep.
It's people getting used to seeing you first, because if you put your logo up, like, you're doing a cheesy Fiverr logo anyway. Like, how many other people use that same type of thing?
Right.
I said, be your brand first. It's you. Just be you first. Like, they have to know your name, what you're doing. Yeah. And then you can fall and bring that stuff gradually. It's not something you need right now. So if you don't have a brand or you're trying to build it, that's cool. Like, be your name first. Like, do the business first and fall into your brand. Don't worry about the brand right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you think that somebody who's going through something similar, like they just started up their own fitness gym and they want to really create a brand around it, do you think that just doing the thing, and like you said, I mean, I think it's a great thing as far as falling into your brand, but do you think just kind of documenting who you are and what you're doing authentically every day, and then eventually you'll fall into what makes you you? Do you think that that's what somebody should do? Do you think they should just like be on social, be pushing who they are, what they do, how they serve? I mean, what do you think?
It's how they view what is a brand, because a brand to me isn't a logo and a color scheme,
right?
But a lot of people think that's branding, and I mean, it is. It's a logo and a color scheme,
right?
Where? On your business card? So anyone that sees your business card knows your brand,
right?
On your every other day post on social media, like, that's not branding. So you worrying about a logo, you should be worried about just becoming your brand. If branding is an action word, you're not gonna have to worry about it, because you're consistently doing
That's so true.
Like the hats, the colors, the cars were wrapped. Like, you could not escape being around me without seeing something of my brand, right? But that didn't start like that.
Yeah, and that's you. Now, you mentioned the colors, the logos, the visuals, all of that. What does a brand truly represent beyond the logos and the visuals?
It's it's a service. So the reason I'm so heavy into branding is because it worked for me as a consumer. Right. When I bought my house, we had a scorpion problem. And when my daughter was 1, we picked her up on the ground. She had scorpions sitting underneath her. And I was pissed, right? My ex at that time called me at work. Driving home, I was like, dude, we just got sprayed. Like, my daughter's... Because I thought scorpions sting death, right? Because that's how scorpions are with kids, too. So I was scared. Yeah. Driving home, I pulled up at the light, and there was a green mango truck next to me. And it was a lifted F-150, matte black, had that big bright green, the tires. And I was looking, I was like, dude, this guy must make a lot of money, because all of his trucks are like this, right? So they must know what they're doing. Right. And that was the thought that came in my head. I called them at that light, and I set up a service. I've been using them for 10 years. from that moment I used them.
Wow,
So I've not
interesting.
stopped using green mango since I saw that light.
Wow.
So
Well, and I think that I think the first thing that caught your eye and made you want to try them was the brand, the wrap trucks. It gave this feeling, but then it was the trust that they earned from using them, and they did a good job, obviously, because that's the thing about business in general is that you could have a great brand but you say brand is service. Brand is your service, which is interesting because you look at brand that way. Now, if somebody's really good at getting your attention and getting you to do business with them the first time, but then suck for the rest of time, then you're never going to use them again after that.
Yeah.
Which is interesting to me. Now, this is an interesting question that I want to ask you. So, because you mentioned the tattooed lawyer, I think that you're going to like this one.
Oh.
Do people follow brands because they love them or because they reflect who they want to become?
I think it's sometimes it's the cool factor, like you're like how many restaurants I go to because everyone else posted it, and I'm like, I want to experience that too.
Right. Yeah.
But man, that's hard to answer like that.
Because
But
it made me think earlier when you were talking about the tattooed lawyer, it's almost like there was a part of you that was like, I want to become kind of like that guy, but in my own way. Because he resonated with you, you could feel like you could trust that person because they resonated with you, because of tattoos and maybe similar life and all these things. But did it resonate with you because you loved that brand or because you wanted to maybe become similar? And maybe it changes on a base to base level.
well, I'm still like, so that's what turned me off in branding was
Yeah.
the people who said who would use him, right?
Right.
Because I'm like, well, who would you use? Because the guy has a suit and tie. You mean to tell me that I can fake my whole entire life if I just put a suit and tie on?
Right.
Like people are so ignorant with their own thinking,
Yeah,
right?
for
So
sure.
that's when I started thinking different. And I was like, you know what? I don't want people to come to me because I'm tattooed.
Right.
Like I don't want to be the tattooed realtor and you're coming to me because I'm tattooed and I'm different.
Right,
Because
right.
that doesn't give me the credibility where it's due because I
Right.
took so much. Like I did all the CE classes before my first year was done.
Right.
I went to lunch with all the top agents. Like
Yeah.
I opened investment companies with some of the top investors in Arizona.
Right.
My credibility is not because my face is tattooed. It's because of my
Right.
work ethic, right?
Right.
So my brand, everyone else was like, the tattoos like that. That's not why people come to me. That's not why people are using me.
Yeah.
But that's the message I was putting out
Right.
there, right? So
Right.
that's when I started changing and being that authentically me now. Like I give the hard truths. I tell people I don't want to work with them. I tell people
Yeah.
I won't list their homes. Like this is
Yeah.
all things I never thought I would do.
Right.
That brought me so much more happiness inside.
Oh,
Because to me, it's just like I want to be a brand because 90% of the industry is garbage. I want
Right.
to do a brand because why do I have a home that was sitting 100 days on market and I get an ask offer without an agent calling me? Like that stuff. I'm like, I have to like prove myself every day to show you guys I'm serious. But yet there's people in the business that are just like, just want a commission check.
Yep.
And they act like it and they show it, right? So branding to me is so much different now because it's all about my clients now.
Yeah.
And it always has been about
Yeah.
my clients, but I never was so open with being, hey, are you good?
Yeah.
What's your future look like? I go to cash buys all the time now.
Yeah.
The last 4 listings I got were from cash buy appointments. And me walking in the house from someone on social media saying, yeah, this is my buy price. I said, but if you do let me buy at this price, you're allowing me to make the most money.
Right.
You sell it traditionally, you're going to make the most money.
Yeah.
And here's the 3 options in between that kind of
Yeah.
like split it evenly, but here's how much I'm going to make if you let me buy this house.
Right.
What's your situation, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this isn't this. I need money. But okay, when do you need money? Do you
Yeah.
need it now? How much do you
Right.
need now, right? Because that's going to determine, I can just maybe just pay it off for you and list your house. You can still
Right.
make more, right?
Yeah.
But how many people are doing that?
Right.
I could have just got the cash buy, wrapped it up, wholesaled it, flipped it, make the most money, right? But is
Yeah.
that really their best interest?
Right.
And it's not.
Well, and I think going back to what you were saying, doing it for your clients and providing a service for your clients, that, again, you said, boom, you could make money, you can make more money doing it this way, but what is going to allow the brand to thrive long term? Mm-hmm. And what's going to make it thrive long term is you doing a great job for your clients, for your customers, whatever the case may be, whatever industry you're in. That's what's going to make your career and whatever you're doing thrive long term.
I just got
And
a
I think that's
referral
really important.
closed December, it was like December 16th.
Yeah.
That client I got from somebody I did a listing appointment with and didn't take the listing. So I went to this listing appointment. She was like crying. They were getting divorced. And I was like, you got a 2% interest rate? Like, what can you do to keep this house, right? Because now I'm going as an investor.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you have 401k access? Do you have this? I ended up helping her keep her own house. Like she ended up doing like a seller finance type thing to pay her ex off.
Yep.
So he's still going to get his money. They agreed to everything. And I helped her keep her house. And she's like, how much do I owe you for doing this? I was like, I'm just this is what everyone should be doing, right?
Yeah, right.
And she's like, no, I gotta pay you. I was like, no. I said, because I know for a fact next time you hear somebody talking about real estate, wants to sell their house, I know who you're going to send them to.
Yep.
I said, and that's where I think I'll have a leg up in the future. Yeah. Is because that's how I act with everyone. I don't care about their buy or sell. I just want to be their source of information today. Yeah. Hopefully they rock with me later on or drop my name to somebody.
Right. Absolutely. Okay, so as we kind of start just wrapping up, doing the final topics, I want to go back to what we were talking about. And when we were saying, as an entrepreneur, as a real estate agent, whether you are brand new as an entrepreneur, whether you've been in the game for a while, no matter the situation, and you want to start developing this brand and you want to use social to do it, walk somebody through, like tell them what your thoughts are on, you don't need all the fancy cameras and lights and microphones and a camera person and all this different stuff. Like, where do they start if they don't have all of that?
Oh, man. So social media is the best marketing tool anyway, and it's free. Yeah. And the way to make it free is using your phone. And now phones, like nowadays, like you don't need all this fancy stuff, right? It's the thought behind it. Yeah. It's you want to be a brand, you have to all encompass the brand, right? Being out there and doing your job right, doing it correctly, getting the referrals. Yeah. So branding's a long-term play. Yeah. No one ever made a brand in a month, in a year, in 5 years. No. If you look at some of these brands like Amazon, he was Amazon for how many years before that even became popular, right? Absolutely. So he wasn't pushing his brand, he's pushing his service. Yeah. So I tell people more, push you and your service and let the brand fall into place. Yeah. Because you're never you don't see a brand once and you memorize it. And I learned this from commercials because I dropped $40K on a commercial to air it for 4 weeks. And the lady that took my money, shot the commercial, said, are you going to do 3 months? And I was like, no, I'm just going to do it for a month. And she's like, oh, I want to do it at all. And I was like, why? Because she's like, well, people got to see you 5 or 6, 7 times on TV for it to click with them. She's like, that's kind of like an average. Yeah. And I wasn't listening to her. I was just like, yeah. Like it got great. It was great exposure for the brand, but she was right. It wasn't consistent. So that month dropped off, all that money kind of was wasted, right? Because now once you end it, you're hoping these people memorize your name. Like people don't write down names and phone numbers. They have to keep seeing it every day and then see it and be like, oh, I'm going to call them tomorrow. Right. But that's my commercial's been airing for a year now, right? Yeah. I did it for a month. So don't get caught up too much in the brand portion of like, you need to have a name, a logo, a color scheme, and just get caught up of being visual and doing your job right, and doing the service right. Yeah, I think it's everything else will fall in. Right.
Now, we were talking about something before we started recording, which was, you've built this massive brand. Everybody knows the Call Tattoo brand. Everybody knows the Tattooed Realtor, and we were talking about how you're kind of getting to a place where you're just like, I'm tired of it, or whatever the case, and I'll let you expand on that. But where are you now pivoting? What's your next plan of attack for your brand, for your content online? What does that look like? And explain to people like kind of where you're at right now with like, because I think it'll help people. I think that people who have been doing it for some time now, whether it's been a year, 2 years, 3, 4, 5 years, everybody gets to that point where they're just like, I'm tired of this, man. I don't like it anymore. It's like constantly being creative, constantly. But we know as marketers, as branders, as business people, you can't stop. Like you have to keep moving forward. So explain where you're at and where you're headed.
Well, I just didn't want to get in a position where I was forcing content, forcing stuff I didn't want to do. Yeah. And that's where I'm at now. It's like I feel like I'm forced to do something to the point where I don't post as much anymore. Right. Because I'm trying to be busy. I'm trying to this. People say negative things, and just like I don't want to be in the limelight. Right. But oh, man, say that again one more time. Like,
which part?
The question.
Oh, so explain where you're at now, which is what you, and then how are you pivoting to be like, okay, I know I can't stop. but I have to pivot because maybe I'm not having fun doing this anymore, which is a huge aspect of this, is just having fun and doing it with your team, doing it with people. That's why I do these with you, is because I enjoy doing these with you, because I know you provide a lot of value to me. You provide a lot of value to these guys. And it's like you can't, once you start, you can't stop, but you do need to probably pivot. So now, what is your pivot plan?
So I think I'm going to do different things on different platforms.
Okay.
Not the same thing everywhere. So Instagram, like I still want to do the funny videos, but I also want to give valuable information because I really do think these one-on-one conversations I have with buyers and sellers, I can see the light bulbs in their head. I can see that, that I'm telling them things they've never heard before. And I really, really enjoy that. But I want to be known for that too, because I really do think I'm the best for everyone, because I don't give a shit about money. That's why I want people to use me, is because I've been in your position. I want everyone to win. Like, I've been to the point where I hated my life, but I pulled up in front of my house, and that house saved my divorce. It saved me from when we were in debt. Like, it saved me from different things. And I would sit there, because I grew up with a single mom. Like, we grew up in apartments my whole life. So when I bought a house, there's sometimes I go to work and sit in front of it and be like, damn, this is mine. Like, and that's a real fucking emotion that comes out of somebody, especially like a man, right? So, like, I remember that feeling. So that same why is why I want people using me, is because I do want you to feel that. Like, I know what that did for me, and I will not do anything to ever jeopardize that for you. That's why you should use me, right?
Oh man, that's powerful.
So it's about, how do you get that message across? The funny videos and stuff, I would do speaking engagements, and we would all go out as a group, and I'm sitting there in the corner now, and everyone's like, oh, dude, you can go home if you want. I'm like, oh, I'm fine. Like, right? Because they just thought I was an asshole, because they're like, you're so quiet and you sit in the corner. I'm like, no, I'm an introvert, right? But my social media doesn't show the true me. Like, it doesn't show me with my kids. It doesn't show me as a human, like, being funny. So Instagram, I do want to be myself again, and not have, I don't give a fuck about algorithms anymore. Like, I really don't. Like, I'm just going to post what I want when I want. If it gets views, cool. If it doesn't, doesn't. Like a home tour here, a funny video. I don't want to have to fall in that line of what I have to do. And that's why I'm not posting right now. Instagram, TikTok, I think I want to just do my funny shit. Because real estate, it really doesn't get motion. I just still want to show my funny side.
Absolutely.
And then YouTube is where I want to do the marketing and branding. But from a perspective is more of a all-encompassing, like, this is the marketing idea, but here's why, the thought process, what I'm trying to portray, what I'm trying to, because I think it's the psychology behind a lot that will actually help people.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I gotta do that instead, you know?
Yeah, man, I think that you've done an excellent job of it. That's why I love having these conversations over and over, because it's branding is, especially in 2025, it's just going to get more and more challenging. People are going to be trying to do it for real. People are going to be trying to do it in a fake way. And it's like, when you can truly be your authentic self on social, put a lot of thought in behind how you're going to deliver your value. I think that especially in your particular market, or however you want to do it, you're just going to kill. And I think what people miss sometimes is how long it takes to build. And you've been doing this. How long have you been doing this?
5 years.
5 years. And when do you think it really, like, took off?
Second year.
Really? Nothing first year?
First year, I was hoping to get 5 and did 23. Second year, 43.
Oh, wow.
But that's 66 deals in my first 2 years of business. So second year is when the marketing kicked off. And I challenge people, especially on social media too, if you're beginning, don't fall for the stupid real estate shit, which is like you have to do this on social media. You don't. You just have to be in front of your people forever and ever and ever and ever.
It's so true.
Because if you try to mimic Steve, the rapping realtor, because you have auto-tune and you can write and you can rap, great. A year of people seeing the same thing, they're going to stop. They're going to get bored. They're going to hear the same song. They're like, oh, he made another one. The funny videos, like, I never was tied to anything. Like, I think I start different trends in real estate because I'm always doing different things. But if I were to be like, not to knock on Brad, but Brad, the guy who cussed with the tours, he went from, like, not a lot of followers, like 140,000 followers. He was the one doing the cussing, showing the houses in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
But his trend, him doing that, it got him great credibility, But then he started getting everyone copying him. I'm like, you guys are falling for this shit, because now you're tying yourself into one little corner of.
Similarly to that one Trent Miller, I think it was, speed tour. That guy's he stumbled upon that. He probably did that once, it popped, and now that's his brand. Now he's collaborating with Jake Paul. He's doing all this stuff, but that was him. Like, he didn't copy anybody. Now there's how many agents across the country copying him and doing speed tours.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point that you made, because figure out what is yours, because if not, then you're just going to be trend chasing. You're just going to be chasing the trend, and it's never going to be really you. I think that hitting a trend here and there is fine, because it could be fun and you put your own spin on it or whatever.
I still want them to get caught in the wasting the time.
Right.
Because that's what I did when my career was going down.
Right.
The market was a big reason of that, but
Right.
it was because I didn't have the right system set up too.
Right.
I didn't have the follow-up, the touches, the doing the real estate, how it was done for 50 years.
Right.
I just did it my way, and it popped.
Yeah, right.
What happens when the market turns?
Yeah.
You have to do it the right way also. And that's what I don't want people following. I think nowadays agents are trying to be content creators.
Yep.
And you're never going to make real estate popular.
Right.
You'll make it popular with other agents, but that's it. Right.
Well, I think a lot of people see like the Ryan Serhants of the world, and they're like, man, if I'm not like that, then I'm not successful. And it's like, how long has that guy been building? How long has he been doing things, in his own way that has created his brand, which is now Netflix related and all of these things. I think it's like, worry about what you are doing and worry about the things that you can control, rather than trying to be like Justin or Ryan or somebody who has maybe been doing it longer, or they have their brand. Like, that's their brand. You can never copy it, just like you can't copy theirs, you know? And I think once you acknowledge that, and then I think a huge thing I took away too was the perspective thing. Put yourself in the other person's shoes, whether it's a buyer, seller, a client, a patient, whatever your situation is, put yourself in their shoes and figure out, like, okay, as a consumer, how would I feel if I was them?
Yeah.
And I think that that's really powerful. So
no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you doing this. If you haven't already, you guys, Justin Mercer, Call Tattoo on Instagram, social, subscribe to his YouTube channel. Because like, he's been an inspiration to me, just constantly doing what he's doing. And I appreciate you, man.
I mean, this is weird to me, bro. Like, you saying that kind of stuff about, like, I never thought I'd be this in real estate or market. Like, when people hear that's like, I still get that imposter syndrome. So it still feels good that, to hear myself described like that, like, it's crazy to hear. So I appreciate it.
No, I mean, you've earned it, man. You've done things so differently, uniquely, and you've just been like you. And it is inspiring to people, because it's like, it makes people feel good about saying, you know what, I am going to be me. And I see him doing it, and it's cool, and I'm going to follow that. And so just keep it up, man. I'd love to see what you guys are doing here. And like I said, go check them out, follow them, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you.
See you.